Hey guys, here, aka Gene, and welcome to an updated version of our top 5 DLC cars, which now top 10 for this particular episode, as we have now a total of 24 DLC vehicles. So, that means you guys know how it works traditionally for this series. You guys let me know in the comments below what your list would look like, and if you guys do enjoy this episode, be sure to hit that like button. I'm going to get right into it without wasting any further time. So, coming in at the number 10 spot, we have the Huntley SUV, the Enos Huntley. So, when the game was trying to say it's the Rolls Royce, but in real life, we know it's the 2016 Bentley. So, I don't know where that's coming from. You guys can let me know, but that is what I see. Now, also, this is the quickest SUV for racing. It's by far the most superior and most dominant. However, it's also got its downsides, you know, one of which is the braking. You gotta brake hard and you gotta brake early when you go in at high speeds trying to take a sharp 90-degree corner to actually get the most out of this particular SUV. So you gotta really pay attention to that. It is a nice SUV in general, considering the fact that this actually costs $195,000 from Legendary Motorsport, which is quite cheap, you know, considering it's a DLC vehicle, and most recent DLC vehicles that we've been getting have been insanely overpriced and have been lacking that modification and customized option, which this SUV has. But even with that not being there, I'll still get this for its price because it looks absolutely beautiful and fantastic, and this definitely deserves to be in the top 10 spot. But at the number 9 spot, we have the Warrener, man. This is a 4-door sedan, absolutely viable for racing, and it's absolutely awesome for drifting as well. It came through the I'm Not a Hipster DLC, which brought a lot of other vehicles as well, not necessarily for performance, but more for the modifications and customization, of course, relating to being a hipster, with a lot of these weird customization, which some of these vehicles did come through. But this one in particular did not have that weird customizing. It's got quite a few options which are absolutely awesome, especially with the unique headlight tapes there, an awesome hood customization option there as well, with the awesome design to that. But a lot of options there. I did kind of ruin it with the spoiler, my apologies for this particular footage, but it looks absolutely nice. It's awesome for drifting. That's one thing you'll try with a rear wheel drive, and it's certainly up there with the Futo. And it was an interesting comparison between those two. But if you're doing stock racing, certainly choose this over any other sedans. It's awesome. Sedan racing is something you gotta definitely try. Obviously, Shafter dominates when it's fully customized. So you see here, generally speaking, the design is nice. It had to be number 9 spot of the 24 DLC vehicles we've got. This, by the way, strictly speaking, is for the sort of road vehicles and just cars, and generally speaking, not necessarily motorbikes and that. I'll be doing that separately for another video, and mostly for sort of waiting for next gen anyway. But number 8 spot, we gotta have the Panto yet again from the I'm Not a Hipster DLC. This one is a unique vehicle which, you know, I had to put in definitely something that's enjoyable to ride around with, to fit through tight gaps, and you know, just the options they're given for your customization. Yet again, they brought insane amount of customization for this, the sticker bomb bull bars and all of that, spoiler, racing spoiler, all of that. And it's for compact, you know, you can certainly use this for compact racing. It's certainly viable if you can use it right and can compete against the Rhapsody, which is currently the most dominant compact car. But depending on this track and the, you know, sort of how you take corners, because this is very responsive to curbs. So if you're going over curbs and whatnot, you can certainly flip and whatnot. But if you have off-road tires on them, it will make it easier, but still it's quite uncomfortable going over curbs and whatnot, and very sort of responsive with that. It's very sensitive, as you'd expect. It's a very small car, so any sort of, you know, jitter or agitation will cause it to respond quite crazily. But if you can control this car, it's certainly viable, absolutely fun to drive around with, and certainly worth it in the top 10 spot. But COQUETTE Classic's got to be number 7. It's a sports classic car, certainly viable for racing as well as, generally speaking, it's free roaming. It's one of these cars which is definitely down to complete, strictly preference, because it's one of those things where you either like it or you don't, you know, where it's got insane amount of oversteer, hardly any traction whatsoever. So once again, if you don't find the appropriate braking points, and you know, you don't respect the car's handling, then you're gonna get completely screwed, and you can literally just ruin the entire race if you're not concentrated. This car requires a lot of concentration. In my opinion, this car requires the most skill to actually use its find its max potential out of any car in the game. And that just strictly comes down to my opinion, because it's an absolutely difficult car to control and to reach the max out of, especially in a racing environment where you're actually competing against other cars with better traction and downforce. You know, you see here, the only sort of most dominant thing about this car is the acceleration, which, you know, if you get the braking point right and you actually can straighten out from a corner perfectly and quickly as possible, then you can actually take advantage of this car, and it's certainly compatible against Z-Type as well as the Coquette Classic. Sorry, the Monroe. What am I talking about here? So yeah, we can see the Monroe I'm going against right now. Sort of a little battle. So giving an example of why this car is certainly viable and can keep up with other cars. But like I said, you know, you gotta use 3 times as much energy and concentration to actually compete with the rest, which is kind of the downside to it. But I absolutely like it. May seem a bit overpriced, but it's certainly down to your playstyle. So you can see if my lap time is certainly worth it and certainly viable when it comes to other decent races. Now anyway, Jester is number 6 spot. It's got to be there. It's certainly one of the best handling cars in the game, and it carry a lot of speed and momentum, and certainly competable against the other sports cars when it comes to racing. But my personal preference has always been the Felter, because of that handling style that the Felter consists of, that oversteering feel. Whereas, you know, the Jester in itself has got amazing traction, downforce, and really you can sort of just flow through every corner with hardly using any brakes. But I'm not sort of for that style, if that makes sense. But you know, if you understand the Jester and really get used to the handling and the way it works and how it actually responds around a corner and get the max out of this car, you can certainly keep up with the Felter and the Massacro and every other sports car in a racing perspective. So it's a nice car, generally speaking, for customization as well. It's got one of the most within the sports category. It is absolutely amazing. The only downside to it is the sort of top speed. It certainly have capped it way too much compared to the other sports cars. Oh my lord, I'm on a spins and I failed that landing, but hey, it is what it is. By the way, do you guys know San Andreas is out now on Xbox 360 720p remastered? Do you guys want to see a let's play on that? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to play that game. It's been pretty much my favorite GTA since PS2 days, man. Crazy. But see the beauty of the Jester right here. Just finished up this. So generally speaking, man, this is my list. It's all from my personal opinion and my preference from the cars that I've driven on this game. I've pretty much driven every single car in the game, and from the DLC, DLCs that we've received so far throughout the entire year of GTA 5, these are my favorite from the list. So you see at number 5 spot, we have the DUBSTA 6x6. It's an off-road vehicle, absolutely unique with its 6 wheels. So comfortable running about hilltops with a lot of bumpy areas. You know, where this pretty much got absolutely insane stability because of its weight. It sticks to the ground, so beautiful. And it's got a lot of customizable options as well. This one yet again came from the I'm Not a Hipster update as well. So this hipster update brought a lot of variety of vehicles which the community wanted, especially this one which they were requesting for quite some time, and they finally brought it out, you know. This was actually showcased in one of the Top Gear episodes as well, which is pretty damn awesome to watch. And I wasn't right after I watched that episode, they actually brought this out for GTA 5, which is rather of a weird timing. But generally speaking, this is a nice vehicle to have. It's certainly got to be in the top list, man. And there's another thing which, you know, it was surprising that for me personally, that they've added for GTA 5, because most DLC vehicles are rather random. You don't really expect them. And when they do bring it out, it's rather exciting to see that they could put it out in GTA 5. Then the number 4 spot, we have the Liberator from the Independence Day DLC. This is another off-road vehicle, but this is more for the fun side of things. Absolutely amazing yet again. This is one of those things where you can absolutely terrorize the streets. If you have a bunch of guys with this, you know, remember, if you purchase this, you get to keep this forever. And quite simply, riding about with it and just constantly just terrorizing the streets, going over cars, and pretty much any car you want with the suspensions. With the way this Liberator works, it's absolutely awesome. Literally no effort, and you can just go over things with ease. And the way this car bubbles about all over the place, sorry, not the car, freaking monster truck, man, it's just awesome, man. It's absolutely fun. Literally racing with this is another thing as well, which is really, really fun, and you gotta have this. If you don't have this and you've missed out on this, man, I don't know, that's unfortunate, because this is one of the most exciting things to ride around with. Anyway, number 3 spot, we know the general speaking, the Zentorno, alright? So it's weird, man. I would have had this a few months back at the top of my list, but now it's going to be a number 3 spot. Why? Because it's one of those things when you understand the car a little bit more, you realize that it kind of gets to a point where it's a bit bland and a bit alright. But it's certainly got to be in the top 10 list regardless, right? But the Zentorno is one of the most overused supercars in the game. We know that. And there's quite rather obvious reasons as to why this is the most superior car out of the most in the game. It's the way the suspensions work and the way it has insane acceleration out of nowhere from any bumps and any curbs. And it's generally speaking the most dominant part of this car is the acceleration. Without it, then it will be kind of, you know what I mean? So the handling is alright, I suppose, but going around corners is sort of like a stop-start thing, as you know. as you're carrying a lot of speed anyway. You can't really just, you know, go around a corner like a Turismo would do or any other car. It's just the way the handling works. Slightly more heavier, this car, than the other supercar. But if you understand the way the car works, you can certainly make the most of it. And it's really fun to drive around with, but over time it kind of gets boring and repetitive, as if you'd use this for quite some time. So you really have to change things up. But this certainly goes in, man. This is an awesome car. You can certainly do a lot of crazy stunts with this, man. As you can see, little barrel rolls, landing it and whatnot. Some awkward angles, but it's a fun car, man. It's a fun car, but it can get boring quick, you know what I mean? So it's one of those things. I personally am bored of it, but it's got to be in my top 10 list, man. But number 2 spot, it's got to be the Massacro. You know, I don't particularly use this car as much in racing, but I still love the fact that it has a lot of options, right, for modifications. But at the same time, the default version looks absolutely beautiful. The back sort of represents a Rapid GT with similar design to that. The front with the Aston Martin, right? So it looks really nice. The look of this car is awesome, but at the same time, it's absolutely viable for racing as well. That's another thing you gotta understand, you know. It's got a lot of these ricer options, man, and a lot of these carbon, this and that, carbon spoilers, all of this, carbon skirts. But at the same time, it's crazy good for racing. So a lot of options there for personal preference. Does understeer quite a bit, but if you find appropriate braking points, man, you can certainly make the use of this car. But it certainly comes down to, yet again, preference. Like I said, I personally would not use this for racing as much as I would do, but with, you know, sort of like Feltzer or Jester, whatever. But I'll certainly use this for free roaming, just to go about. You get some nice, awesome color combinations here going. And generally speaking, it's a beautiful car. That's one of the reasons why it's high up in the list for my DLC top 10. And you know, it's got everything all around, just a superior car for any sort of factor, really. You can see how quick it goes. It's got insane acceleration and insane top speed as well. And it really sort of dominates the scene if you use this car right. But number 1 spot, it's got to be the Turismo, man. Yet again, similar to how it was in the top 5 video, if you've seen that. It's got to be the Turismo. I'll tell you why it's got to be the Turismo. It's an amazing car, first of all, with its amazing responsiveness, right? The handling, left, right, insane. You see a footage here. I'm going backwards on oncoming traffic on a highway, and you see like the way this car responds. If you got the reactions to do it, you can see how much you can get out of this car. Insane turning circle high speeds, man. And only downside you could say, which is Rockstar's fault, it's not the car's fault. It's Rockstar's fault for actually not fixing the bug that you get where you can't go over curbs properly. You have to sort of use off-road tires, I suppose, to get rid of this effect here. Look at this. You're literally stuck on a curb. You can't go over it because of how low the car is, regardless of what suspensions you put on it. But other than that, you know, this car is absolutely insane. You can do well with it in racing if you know how to use it. It does take some time to actually get used to. It does have some sort of a skill gap, which is more than the ZENTORNO, like we've already established that in a few videos in the past. But you see the way this car can just literally weave in and out of just tight gaps and tight spots at high speeds. We're going full speed here, people, you know what I mean? So really, the car is beautiful. It looks fantastic. You know, kind of the spoiler there kind of does, you know, it doesn't have that many spoiler options. I wish it did have, because that would have been awesome, because this is really kind of just ruin it. But other than that, you can get to awesome battles like this in racing, man. This is by far the most intense bit down this little S-bend here, getting 2 cars side by side, doing pretty well, you know, and I get absolutely annihilated with overtake. But generally speaking, this car is awesome. The vibrant colors it brings out the design of it as well. Love it, love it. Sticks to the ground. Traction is insane on this car, but yet you can still lose control if you're not paying attention to your braking points. But you can carry a lot of speed around corners as well. But definitely let me know in the comments below what your top 10 would look like for top 10 DLC cars. Greatly appreciate if you guys leave a thumbs up. Yet again, if you guys did enjoy this and my list, remember this is my personal opinion, and it's not factual. It's all from my preference and what I like for different factors, not only from racing, but generally speaking all around. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys soon. Check you soon. Now, good night, peace. Yeah. Hey guys, here, you know, welcome to the GTA 5 top 10 episode. Today I'm going to be showing you top 10 sports cars. These are my favorite top 10 sports cars. Of course, it's completely based on my opinions and my